All right, sixth graders, can you believe it's Thursday already? Today we're going to look at ratio tables. So equivalent ratios can be organized in a ratio table. So that's what we're going to be working with today. So you might have parts of them and then you would give equivalent ratios to complete the table. So maybe we're looking at boys to girls. Make a little table here. And maybe we're only given 1. 2 to 5. So we are to write a couple more equivalent ratios to complete the table. So let's just multiply by 2. And let's multiply by 2 again. Typically they follow the same pattern, right? Whatever you do to the first, you would do to the next. So, well, let's try multiplying by the next number. So if this would be 1 time, this would be 2 times, this would be 3 times. So let's say 6 and 10. So then our next one would be 4 times, right? So we would have 8 and this isn't 10, this is 15. 8 and 20. So you would see this is going up by 2s while the bottom is going up by 5s. So you can kind of see the pattern. So if you're completing each table with equivalent fractions, maybe you have blue to red, and you might have a table going up and down. So if I had 8 to 3, then if I keep going up by 8, I've got 16, 24, 32. If I keep going up by 3s in that same pattern, 6, 9, 12, right? So here was multiplied by 4, here was multiplied by 4. Then I want maybe you have some missing values. So maybe you have some things but not other things. So let's do hot dogs to hamburgers. Maybe you know 3, 9, and 24 hot dogs, but you only know the first one in your table for hamburgers. So this was 3 times 3. So this one has to be 7 times 3. This was 3 times 8. So this has to be 7 times 8. Remember, it's always beneficial for you to be practicing your multiplication and your times tables. So as you can see, some things will be missing as you get going on. Maybe you have chips to cookies, and you have 2, 8, 12, and 60. So you have to look at a relationship that you do have, right? We know 8 to 12. So how would we get back to 2? Well, we would divide this 8 by 4, right? So whatever we did to that, we do to this one. So we're dividing by 4, which is 3. Now, how did we get from 3 to 60, or from 12 to 60? Well, from 12 to 60, I would multiply by 5. So I'm going to multiply the one next to the 12 by 5 as well, which gives us 40. I know these can be a little bit tricky, right? So let's work on a couple more. Maybe you have pounds Like if you're buying in bulk pounds of food to the cost. So maybe you're given 4.5. Maybe you're given 22.5. Maybe you're given 50. Maybe you're given 20. So if the cost is $20 here, so then we have to figure out what we did to these to get the others. Okay, so to get from 22.5 back to 4.5, I would be dividing by something, but I've got to figure out what that is. So 4.5 into 22.5. So I'm looking at 45. Well, I know 2 45s is 90. So 3 45s would be 135. 4 45s would be 180. 180 plus another 45. So if this is 4 times, this would be 5 times. Would be 225. So we would divide this by 5 to get here. So we have to divide this by 5 to get there. So 4.5 pounds would cost $10 because 50 divided by 5 is 10. Now we've got to get here. So I noticed that from 10 to 20, that's a jump of times 2. So if I times this by 2, then I would have 9 here. Okay? So you got to kind of do some thinking. You got to do some multiplication and division there to figure out the missing pieces. How about one more? Let's do feet to seconds. Maybe we know 5 seconds. We know 15 feet over here on the second line. And we know 60 and 25. So how did we get from 60 back to 15? We would divide by 4, right? So if we divided 25 by 4, it's not a very nice number, but we can do it, right? 4 into 25. Well, we know 4 goes into 24 evenly 6 times. And remember, we can add a decimal with as many zeros as we want. Oops. 25 minus 24 is 1. Then if I bring down the 0, and I'm going to remember my decimal goes straight up. 4 goes into 10 2 times, which is 4 times 2, which is 8. So that gives me 2, and then I'm bringing down the 0. 4 goes into 25 times, so it's really 6.25 seconds. So sometimes it's not going to be a very nice answer, right? Now, I want to know how we got from 25 to 5 so that I can do that same thing to 60 to get that one. So 25 to 5, I would divide by 5, right? So I have to divide 60 by 5, which gives us 12. So 12 feet for every 5 seconds. Alright, do you see how we're going to fill out those missing charts today using our best multiplication, division, understanding our factors? You guys got this.